Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Altitude Training, the educational series designed to give you the knowledge and mindset to help you achieve your potential. Importantly, it's also about helping you to maximize your investment in the journey you're on with Slipstream coaching. Now, we do have a number of people on today's webinar who are new to the whole concept of altitude training. So I just thought I'd give you a little bit of background in terms of how it came to be and how it fits in with the rest of your normal coaching activities. So altitude training is a term that I've stolen from elite athletes. And from time to time, what you'll see is the really top performers in many sports will actually take themselves off to areas where there is high altitude. And the reason for that is that they are doing some specific training to improve their capacity. Athletes are looking for their ability to operate in a thinner oxygen environment so that when they get back down to ground level that they are just absolutely flying because their systems are that much more capable. So it's a way of actually periodically lifting one's performance. Now, in terms of how this applies to your Slipstream program, I think this is all to do with my mission in designing the program to help you become a better business person. So ultimately, the way that you're actually going to run a better business, have a better business, is by being a more capable business person. So in order to do that, there are dollops of information that we actually, as your coaches, like to actually pass on to you so that you are actually empowered to make really good decisions. Obviously, you're not going to be sort of consulting with your coach at each and every decision. We actually want to help you to catch a fish. So the altitude training we do once a quarter, and it's in addition to your group meeting, it's in addition to your group webinar, and it's in addition to the one-on-one training. So that's where it fits in. And today's topic is on marketing, which by and large, most firms in the program, this is one of the things that they're looking for the program to help them with, is actually to get more effective and more productive marketing. So in particular, what we'll be covering today is the appointment of someone who will turn your marketing good intentions into reality. It's where the rubber is going to hit the proverbial road. So I think you'll find today's session is both interesting and relevant. And I think you'll find that it involves making an extremely justifiable outlay in order to build real momentum in your marketing over the long term. So with that introduction out of the way, let's get started. All right, today we're going to be covering most likely a new role in your firm. It's a role which will make an incredible difference to your marketing outcomes. And I've got lots of positives to have you leaning in with great interest, I'm sure. So, by and large, it's very affordable and justifiable expenditure. Secondly, you'll likely feel and see progress with your marketing almost straight away. Thirdly, many firms just like yours have appointed a person to this role and seen results. And finally, this isn't a jab at the accountants on the call, but even the most non-proactive, conservative, pinstriped accounting firms known to mankind can not only wrap their mind around the business case for what I'm going to suggest today, but they often actually proceed with this and get the outcomes. So let's see how we go today. It would be good to share your thoughts about this appointment with your Slipstream business coach in due course. Okay, I'd like now to talk about marketing in theory and reality. So, how we wish marketing works. And what you'll see there is a teaspoon of instant coffee. And truth be told, all practitioners wish for the business equivalent of the instant coffee. Just add boiling water and hey presto, lots of lovely new clients appear who are all right in your hitting zone. And so much the better if these clients sign up for upfront payments and start referring their colleagues. Wouldn't that be nice? We've got cash flow fixed straight away. Happy days. How easy is marketing? So it's likely a good thing too, because by the time people go looking for an instant coffee marketing solution, chances are you've made your factory so efficient that you've got a string of people making their way to your door and saying, do you have any work for me? So if you're looking for filling that excess capacity, then an instant coffee fix is likely to be just what you need. Oh, how we wish. Now, it is possible to get some instant results, which convert into to dollars. And there's a lot to be said, for example, in asking a good client for a referral, which that client might act on straight away. However, I'm here to tell you that most hopes for instant coffee referrals, instant coffee, rarely eventuate. Sad, but true. So let's talk about how marketing actually works. So for most firms, the reality is quite different to instant coffee. So rather than that, I think it's more helpful to think in terms of a seedling which you plant in a favorable environment and thereafter nurture to the point where you have a fully grown tree which bears fruit in the form of inquiries from prospective clients interested in your services. Now, confession here, I'm not a talented gardener, far from it. But even I know that it takes a long time for a seedling to grow up to be a fruit-bearing tree. So if you think you're going to need some clients in 5, 10, or 20 years' time, you'd better get planting now. It's very much a case of too late if you leave these marketing activities until 4 years, 11 months, and 29 days to get those lovely new clients at the beginning of year 5. So let's explore this further. So I know that the Instant Coffee Brigade on this webinar will still be feeling a bit disappointed and perhaps a touch needy. So I want to bury this notion once and for all. On the left-hand side of this slide, I'm going to go through some characteristics for marketing of the instant coffee variety, which I hasten to add rarely work. All right, so from an instant coffee point of view, we want this instant flow of lovely new opportunities. The difference, however, is that by planting seeds, opportunities are earned over time, and I use that word very deliberately, earned. You actually need to put in the time and the effort and the thought in order to deserve these opportunities. They're not just going to end up in your lap. So if you have success with marketing, it's because you've worked at it. So the success is thoroughly deserved because you've been going at it diligently over a long while. In addition to investing time, you're also going to be investing dollars. Now, most firms are actually okay with this in principle. By and large, a figure of between 1 and 5% of turnover appears in most firms' budgets. That percentage is dependent upon how rapidly you want to grow. I'm here to say that it's really easy to spend that amount of money. It's not so easy to direct it wisely and to see a return on investment. Now, as a sensible business person, you'll appreciate that you can't go through life in a fuzzy state of marketing ignorance. You'll actually need to take an interest in it. The good news is that marketing can be enjoyable, even fun. And without doubt, the more you know about marketing, the better marketing decisions you will make. So really, from this point on, consider yourself a lifelong student of marketing. Make it your business with any other commercial interaction that you have to look at what marketing is at work and to see perhaps how that might actually be applied in your own firm. Okay, the key here is don't try and do this all yourself. Today, we're going to be talking about who else should be on your marketing team. Now, whilst our focus in this session is on engaging a marketing assistant, we'll also touch on the other people who will make up the marketing team. For everyone familiar with Slipstream's coaching marketing master plan, you'll appreciate that there's any number of marketing strategies that you could follow. It's just that you can't follow all of them, particularly at the same time. If you try this, your efforts are going to be so diluted that they're going to be ineffectual, and you'll drive yourself crazy in the process. What we think is that it's way better to pick a small number of marketing strategies that are carefully aligned with your ideal clients than to run hard with these for an extended period. Again, it's nice to jag some early wins, but the reality is that these strategies will take time to pay off. If you're chopping and changing marketing strategies willy-nilly, what you're effectively doing is you're uprooting your little seedlings, killing off any chance they might have to become fruit-bearing trees. Okay, so to get your marketing trees growing at an optimal rate, there's a bunch of things that you can be doing. Have a look at the list down the left-hand side. It's full of activities likely required to look after a young sapling before it becomes a mature tree. So let's now look at the marketing activity equivalents. A prospect database. This is absolutely critical. So over time, you want to accumulate a big long list of people who could and should become your clients. There's such a big difference between sending out a newsletter or an offer to a database of 20 randoms on one hand to a carefully curated list of several thousand prospects on the other. If your marketing database is big enough and refined enough, then you'll likely get a worthwhile number of responses to your marketing activities. Client functions. Now, in all my years of coaching, I've yet to hear professional services firms say, "We ran too many functions this year." Rather, it's much more likely for those who finally get around to organising one to find that the clients were delighted to attend. Who knows, they might even have brought along a friend or colleague for you to meet. So to conduct the function, you need someone to get it organised. This unfortunate inconvenience is enough to stump most firms and why there aren't any functions that are organised. The newsletter. Now, in most firms, responsibility for getting a regular newsletter out is way down the list of priorities for a lucky person charged to do this. That is, of course, if anyone at all is assigned to making this happen. Google feasts upon websites which are changing and being updated regularly. We also know that it requires a certain amount of computer savvy to be able to update a website, which is why most firms have a static site that is a Google no-go zone. Even the most brilliant invitation to the most fantastic client function ever known to man needs to be followed up. Clients, and particularly your prospective clients who aren't yet your biggest fans, they're busy. So after the super duper invitation has gone out, someone will need to hit the phone and follow up every unanswered invitation. Alas, that's the reality. Marketing collateral. It would be such a shame if on the day you really need that firm brochure, which by the way, you've probably produced at massive expense, you go to the cupboard and find that you've used the last one. And it goes further than this, of course. These days, ensuring digital resources such as ebooks, strategy papers, and case studies can be downloaded readily from your website. And this forms part of the overall requirement for maintaining marketing collateral. And social media has a role to play, leveraging that brilliant article you put in your newsletter so that lots of people read it is entirely possible these days. So having someone, after your newsletter has gone out, post that article onto the social media platforms that your clients and prospects frequent will give you access to an audience far wider than just your current database. Articles. The right person can use a range of proven techniques to extract a regular article from even the most recalcitrant of contributing authors in your firm. Let me see. We could start with gentle reminders or helpfully setting aside time in your diary for you to write the article. Not so gentle reminders. Flattery, even acting as a sounding board, and then of course there are the very firm reminders. My particular favourite is public praise for when the article is actually done to reinforce good behaviour. I'll leave aside public naming and shaming. That's a last resort. In practice, it's remarkable how even the busiest professional can find a window to write an article. But without someone driving this, literally years can go by without anything being created, long enough for that promising little sapling to wither away. Okay, there's going to be some chortles in a certain country regional New South Wales town right at this moment. So the question when we come to nurturing the sapling is, who on the team is going to do all of this? Now, this is a photo of my all-time favourite Wagga Wagga accounting firm, LCA Accountants. I don't think you could find a greater concentration of conscientious worker bees dedicated to client service. Unfortunately, this dedication to looking after clients can be a problem when it comes to undertaking any of the 8 marketing activities on the previous slide. So, the reality is that your team members, they're already busy looking after clients. So there's no question that the team at LCA, and for that matter, employees at your firm, they're totally dedicated to performing client assignments to the best of their ability. And this makes them incredibly busy. On a day-to-day basis, their professional headspace is filled with client issues and deadlines, as it should be. To ask such team members to change the website or to update the prospect database when they're up to their eyeballs in client commitments is just fanciful. Even if those team members start off with good intentions to do matters marketing, such peripheral activities, or at least that's how your factory workers will perceive marketing, will get quickly pushed to one side. And that's not being disrespectful. When faced with getting out an SOA to a client who's leaving for overseas at the end of a week, or a BAS return that's overdue, your team member will put everything else to one side and work really hard to attend to the client matter. And guess what? There's always going to be something of a client nature which will understandably rate higher on your team member's list of priorities than performing regular marketing activities. Then, on top of this, the technical training, legislative requirements, and compliance expectations fill the brains of your factory workers, so much so that they think that their work is superior to marketing. The net result is that your marketing tree will wither and perish without regular doses of love and attention. This paves the way to introduce that team member I'd like you to consider, because otherwise your technical people will end up killing your marketing trees. Okay, you've only got to look at this fellow to know that he's right at home in the garden. I dare say my garden at home would look so much better if he popped in for a couple of hours each week to keep an eye on things. And it's exactly the same with your marketing. So as opposed to your accountants or paraplanners or your admin team, this is somebody who is really enthusiastic about marketing your firm. This person won't and can't be distracted by client matters because he or she isn't qualified to do that type of work. Instead, your marketing assistant will be charged with the responsibility of ensuring that every week something proactive happens with your marketing. Now, just as my garden would look fantastic if this fellow is on the job, so too your marketing will get better and better results the longer you stick at regular, purposeful activity. The key document in making your marketing productive is this. I've just given you a subset here. It's a 12-month marketing calendar. Essentially, the mission is to boil all of your marketing strategies down to actual tasks. So, for example, if your marketing strategy is to work your strategic alliances, then you'll need to proactively contact them and conduct a meeting with them once a quarter. The marketing calendar is where A, you record that's what you're planning to do, and B, your marketing assistant gets the cue to organize the appointment at the appropriate time. In any given month, with perhaps the exception of December and January, you'll have a number of these marketing activities to be undertaken. Newsletters, client functions, special initiatives, along with a set of standing items such as updating your prospective client database and making some posts on social media. In every one of these months, your marketing assistant will steadily ensure that these activities actually get done, and they'll report the outcomes to the appropriate person. Perhaps that's you. If it's you, that's great. It does mean that you're not actually doing the activities. Your role is to make sure that those activities actually get done. Okay, so let's talk about a commitment to this marketing assistant role. How much time to allow for your assistant to tend to your marketing garden will depend on how big your firm is and how ambitious your growth plans are. So for smaller firms, someone who comes in each week for a couple of hours, that might be sufficient. This would be at a low level of marketing sophistication, updating the database, chasing up articles for the newsletter, etc. For larger firms, it stands to reason that you'll need someone more senior and experienced. This will enable you to undertake more ambitious projects. Irrespective, it's quite okay to start small and build up over time. As a matter of interest, we have a firm in the program where an outstanding team member has grown into the higher level marketing roles and demonstrated terrific aptitude for marketing at the strategic level. Love your work, Trudy. So, who to appoint? Well, there's any number of people that you might look at. So somebody who's just starting out on a marketing journey, someone who's actually experienced marketing, someone who's keen to learn, or it might be someone with no particular marketing nous, but they sure can organize a function and they can get a newsletter organized. So rather than be too prescriptive, here are some qualities that you'd be looking for, having ruled out accountants and paraplanners. There's no hard and fast rules as far as age, experience, and knowledge go. These are some attributes that I think you'd be looking for in a marketing assistant. Any combination of those 7 would actually be a really good place to start, I think. Now, I think it's important, although the focus is on marketing assistant, to give you some further context. This is a slide guaranteed to have some practitioners shifting nervously in their seats and feeling the old hip pocket nerve, but hang in there. It's not really as bad as you might think, and I'm definitely not overreaching here. So the first position is a marketing manager. For those of you who have seen it, this spins directly out of your Firm of the Future organization chart. That is, Someone in the firm needs to be responsible for what happens with marketing. It might just be something that takes up a couple of hours a month, overseeing the marketing assistant, but allocate this responsibility you must. We can't leave marketing to chance, and we can't just simply abdicate the function. Marketing consultant. From time to time, you'll need dollops of expertise from someone whose role it is to provide high-level strategic advice. For example, design of your next website. That's something that you'll only need to do occasionally. Or it might be if you're considering different marketing strategies to get some really practical, experienced input on how to implement those strategies. Definitely, third parties can actually have a role to play. If you're looking at things like rebranding the firm or changing direction in terms of the types of clients that you're after, I think it'd be quite timely and appropriate to consider having a senior marketing external consultant on your team. Then in terms of actual implementation, there'll be a range of talented people that you're going to engage occasionally. It makes no sense to have these people full-time on your team. It may be that you engage them on a fixed price or on an hourly basis. It's remarkable how many talented people are guns for hire that you can actually engage with very inexpensively who do terrific work. So for example, with Slipstream coaching, the posters that you've seen for the factory and also marketing master plans has been done by an external expert. Some of the technical aspects of producing our podcast program is also done with the benefit of an external provider. On your marketing journey, there will be a range of tools and guides that you'll need to refer to. Today's webinar is not designed to give you a silver bullet for all of your marketing needs. Far from it. However, you can be very confident that your marketing will be all the better for having a marketing assistant on the team. On the slide here, I've listed various marketing resources available to firms in the coaching program. And really, you are able to download these at your leisure from the How To Hub, our online resources. Marketing Essentials is a great introduction to marketing professional practices for those who are new to this area. In a sense, it provides you with just a bedrock of information that you actually need in order to properly engage in marketing your firm, and more to the point, in having discussions with your coach and external marketing consultants. There's a certain level of entry knowledge that you need, so thoroughly recommend that as a guide to get you started. Then there's the Marketing Master Plan, which you can use to ensure that you're on track strategically with your marketing. In particular, the Marketing Master Plan will help you to avoid some marketing deadly sins. Chopping and changing strategies too much, spreading your resources too thin, and doing nothing and hoping new clients stumble upon you. Some people listening to this webinar will have already had the learning module, which we do in the quarterly group meetings, on the Marketing Master Plan, so you'll know what I'm talking about. For those who are new to the program, the module on Marketing Master Plan is in your future, and it'll just be a fabulous day that you'll enjoy immensely, and you'll come away with an overall framework with which to operate your marketing. What I do want to talk about specifically today, though, is the Guide to Marketing Assistance. So if I've convinced you to act upon this, this is a guide which will actually help you to implement the marketing strategy. Early days in Slipstream, there was a short form guide on this topic of sorts, but really it just wasn't hitting the detail and providing the assistance that I thought was appropriate. So recently I've totally revised that, and I'm really happy with the new version. So you'll find that this is also now available from the online how-to hub. So effectively today is the day I'm choosing to relaunch the guide on this. Again, those who are new to the program, when you go into the Slipstream up, on the left-hand side of Slipstream up, you'll see there's a menu in dark blue. From that, you'll be able to select the How-To Hub, and then within the How-To Hub, then there is the section on marketing in green, and you'll be able to either sort of like poke around the marketing resources or just key in the guide to marketing assistance. You should be able to pull that up fairly readily. I'm really pleased with how that has come up. And what I've actually done is I've written it so that you can actually grow into the role. So I've provided 3 different profiles. The first profile being where you engage the marketing assistant for a couple of hours per week to attend to basic tasks only. So likely scenarios where such a person would be a good fit, sole practitioner, where you have a limited budget, or if it's just early days in your coaching program. So there'll be sort of simple things that person would do in that time. The next level up is a more capable and engaged assistant, where you might engage that person for 1 to 2 days per week to help drive an active marketing program. So some likely scenarios, if for example you have 2 or more principals, where the firm's leaders know they need to get cracking on marketing, or certainly where you're starting to get on top of your factory issues and you've got a looming need to fill the capacity in the factory. The third level is a more serious commitment with likely a more capable team member. So that's where you're moving from an assistant role to having a much more capable marketing coordinator and instigator. Where you might engage someone on this basis is where you are a larger firm, where significant budget allowance has been made for marketing, and or you're actively pursuing growth opportunities. So the guide will actually provide you with the basis of a role description for each of those 3 different scenarios, and you can move from one to the other throughout. So I do commend that guide to you and hope that you get lots of benefit out of reading it. Okay, a short game's a good game. That's as much as I wanted to cover in altitude training today. I do hope that you found it thought-provoking. Putting on a marketing assistant is one of the best ways I can think of to drive your marketing activities. In turn, I assure you that this will yield some very pleasing results for your firm. As usual, we'll be putting a recording of this webinar in its own little section within the How-To Hub, so you'll be able to access it post today should you wish to revisit the material, or if there's some members of your team that weren't able to sit in on today's webinar, they can view it subsequently. That's it for today. Have a productive balance of the day, and I really look forward to bringing you further altitude training webinars in the future. Until then, onwards and upwards.